Christy, Diane, and Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Good
Absolutely.
to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like for each of you to please explain why you are running for the District 4 council seat. Christy, let's start with you since you're the incumbent.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and covering this important election in Palm Springs. This is our first district election in District 4. So it's an exciting opportunity to elect a district representative. I was first elected in 2017. I've worked here for 8 years as an attorney. I've served hundreds of residents in the city of Palm Springs. I was elected in 2017 as the first millennial elected to Palm Springs City Council, and also as part of the first all LGBTQ city council in the country. In the last 3 years, I've been focused on delivering results for our community to build a better Palm Springs for all of us, including we've protected public health through the pandemic. So we were the first city in Southern California to issue a shelter-in-place order. We obtained $10 million from the state of California just for the city to address homelessness. We've protected open space, including saving Oswett Canyon. We've approved the first affordable housing projects in 10 years in the city. We've delivered a balanced budget and had provided strong fiscal leadership, including saving tens of millions of dollars in reserves to prepare for a crisis exactly like we're in. And I promoted public safety. So if reelected, I would be honored to continue to serve the residents of Palm Springs. It's the best job I've ever had. And our platform is to keep Palm Springs residents, businesses, and workers safe through the pandemic, to ensure our financial recovery through this economic crisis, to support local businesses and our workforce, invest in quality of life amenities for residents, and continue to protect open space. So I would be honored to earn the vote of all of the District 4 residents, and I'm looking forward to answering all of your questions. I've been endorsed by Congressman Raul Ruiz, the Sierra Club, Equality California, the full City Council, and the mayor. And I would appreciate the community's endorsements as well. Thank you very much.
Mike.
Yes, I'm running for city council because I think that my background and experience is well suited to deal with the financial crisis that we're facing because of COVID-19. I have a master's in business administration from UCLA and an economics degree. I'm a CPA. I've been practicing and owned a small business here in Palm Springs since 1987. I grew up in Palm Springs. I've lived in the city for 45 years. I went to Palm Springs High School, graduated there, as did my 2 children. I think that we need to look at the budget line by line, and I think that I have some experience and expertise that is currently not on council. Also, I have the support of the Palm Springs, I have the endorsement of the Palm Springs Police Officers Association, Riverside Sheriff's Association, and the Palm Springs Firefighters Association. Public safety should be the #1 priority of local government, and I think that we need to strive to make sure that the vacant police officer and firefighter positions are filled, and that is going to require prioritization. Parks are important, but public safety is job 1. Thanks.
Diane.
I am, first and foremost, let me tell you, I'm not a politician. I am a resident, and I got involved grassroots. I've only been in the game for about a month and a half. I walked the pavements to get my signatures in a 2.5 day span to meet the requirement back in August 7th by 7:00 p.m. And I'll tell you, what actually drove me was that the open space mesquite was on the table, and I know that an ordinance was passed, and yet the history of the city council had, for me and many others, was that the possibility of having it reversed because of the lack of transparency and false statements that had been made about being something that you're not. So it was a possibility that the ordinance, in fact, could be overturned. I'm currently a frontline worker at as a healthcare worker, I see firsthand the importance of the public health and safety. I have been a business owner. I was the president of the Fashion Group International. My wife and I have lived in Palm Springs, first owned in Palm Springs since 2005, and we moved to Palm Springs 4 years ago. The lack of transparency and the incredible political machine that exists in Palm Springs is overwhelming. And with a whole lot of the same, we as a community and in District 4 have the opportunity to create a movement to stop the madness. We have a potential, unfortunately, for our city to become bankrupt if we do not stop the craziness and the irresponsible financial spending. I understand what it is, how to read a spreadsheet and run a budget. I've worked in the public sector and I've worked in the private sector. I've been in the grassroots, down on the ground, working as a blue collar worker. We need to, as stated earlier, make our city be health and safety protection. And I'm all about being able to have being an international city and having people come and visit. But you know what? We have local businesses that are in dire straits. And I believe that we need to start focusing and bringing things down here in our community. And last but not least, I think, again, that the political machine that exists here, I don't have a bankroll. I'm appreciative to have this TV time space because people don't know who I am. But I want District 4 to know that it was done and created to create minorities, to have the opportunity to be at the table and to have a voice. And we have an opportunity right now as the only woman of color on this running for city council to be able to make a difference and make that happen.
All right, it's interesting. All three of you just mentioned the issue of public safety. This seems to be a pretty key difference between the three of you. So I'm interested in hearing what differentiates you from your opponent on this topic, and what do you plan to do to address public safety? Let's start with Mike this time.
Well, I don't want to get into attacks on my opponent, so I can tell you what I will do. Violent crime is up in Palm Springs. There's been 3 homicides in Palm Springs in the last year, and a 15-year-old was shot dead in a tragic gang-related incident. What we need to do is prioritize our funding. Public safety should be the #1 priority of local government. And right now we have about a dozen unfilled officer positions and about 7 firefighter positions that are vacant. We need to prioritize that. I would not spend the $150,000 consulting to analyze the practices of the police department. That's the job of city staff and our fine police chief. That's where I think I have a difference with at least one of our fellow candidates.
I'm assuming you're referring to Christy.
Yes.
Okay, well, since you mentioned her, Christy, why don't you answer next?
Sure. The difference is that I have a demonstrated track record on public safety. So I've been working closely on the last 3 years with our police chief, with our police department, and every vote that we've taken on city council has been unanimous in support of public safety. So we've reopened a fire station that serves District 4 with Measure J dollars. We've renovated the police station, which was outdated. We've hired police, fire, emergency medical services to pre-recession levels over the last few years. So yes, we have a budget crisis, and no department in the city is immune to looking and seeing how we can run government more effectively. But we have been working closely with the police chief on gang-related activity in the north end of town. Actually, crime is significantly down by 30% in nearly all categories in Palm Springs this past year. In part, that's because of the pandemic. So it's not true to say that crime is up. We have issues that we need to address, and we're doing that in multiple ways with our police department, with our excellent police chief, and with also social services and community services that the city provides to our residents. And so this isn't a one-issue race. Residents care about all of these issues together. You can't just do public safety as a city. You really have to look at the city's budget overall. But overall, I've been supportive of public safety, and my track record and action supports that.
Diane.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree. I, again, feel that as a city, our public safety is in fact top priority. And I believe that after as well speaking with the police and the fire department, I mean, Christy Holsters actually came out publicly, so I'm not speaking out of turn, that she had issues with the police department and people know about it. So, I mean, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and being on the street and being on the grassroots, because I don't belong to any of these organizations. I'm actually out in the community talking to my constituents. They're disturbed about that. What does that mean on the bigger picture here? How can they feel safe that they are in fact going to be supportive? Those are not words that you can say publicly and then take back. So the reality of it is that harm was done, rhetoric was made. And I believe that as a healthcare worker and on the front line and working in the hospital, seeing the people that are not well, and having the risk of our community being at risk by travel and people coming in, we need to create a task force to be able to be on the ground, to be able to help our businesses locally so that they can feel and know that the city is supporting them. We have businesses that are not doing well, and to your point, how are we going to bring business in here to revitalize our economy? Well, we need to ensure our businesses in our community, that people who in fact are traveling here are going to be protected. So I as well agree that we need more of a force. A lot of what represents the city publicly is how in fact we have staff to be able to be visible to ensure our community that we are okay and that we're safe. And right now that's not happening.
Let's now talk about the issue of open spaces and environmentally sensitive areas like Oswick Canyon. Should these spaces be preserved? And Diane, I know you mentioned this in your opening remarks. Why don't we start with you this time?
Great. Yes, as I had said, one of the catalysts for me was that I was concerned that Mesquite, which is right outside my back door, and I know that there are preservationists who were very, very active in creating a bill that was passed to save the land. And yes, I know that I learned these people. I was a latecomer in here, so I was running upstream without a paddle, learning who these people were to ensure that they were getting the support they needed. I fear that though people were supporting them, that we still risk this ordinance being overruled because the city council has done things like that. They've made decisions. I mean, look at the city mayor. The city of the people of Palm Springs voted to let them do it. And then the city council decided, no, let's rotate so that we could have other possibilities. Well, that's not okay with the city. Again, being grassroots, we need to preserve our open space, and we need to ensure that we are being environmentally safe. And if in fact building is going to happen in this community, we need to look at alternative ways to integrate innovative environmental ways for electricity for properties here.
Mike.
Yes, when we moved here in 1962, there was a lot of open space. In fact, just about everywhere to the east of Sunrise Way was open space. And where Mesquite Country Club is, that was across from the Palm Springs High School. And we used to go over there. It was all open desert. So if anyone who lives in a structure that was built after December 1962, they've taken open space away from me, so I care very deeply about it. But one of the things we have to look at is what is the current zoning? People have invested in properties that under the current zoning rules. I don't think Mesquite Country Club, which by the way, I played golf there back in the day. I don't think that that's going to be developed. it'd be very costly. And what we don't want to see is something like you see on the west side of Sunrise in the Tockwitz Creek, where you got concrete ravines and such like that. So I have a feeling because of the 100-year floodplain, the Mesquite Country Club is safe. We can move on to Bel Air Greens, Tommy Jacobs. That area there is very big concern because there was a proposed multi-story housing project that has been pulled off of the table currently. And there's some conflicting zoning on that property. People who care and have the wherewithal, let's raise some money and let's buy these open spaces and compensate the owner and have it preserved forever.
Christy.
Thank you for asking this question. I think this is a key difference between the candidates. So in the last 3 years, I have worked tirelessly. I've served on the city's subcommittee to save Oswett Canyon. I was engaged in negotiations with the owners of the property and supported and advocated for the role of the city to preserve that as open space. It actually just isn't about private development rights, but the city and the people have a strong interest in preserving these properties. And so I've supported Oswett Canyon. I've supported the Mesquite Desert Preserve. This is why I'm the only candidate endorsed by the Sierra Club and other environmental leaders. And so Mike, while he was served on city council, and that's the benefit of having people who served before, because we all have track records, opposed preserving Chino Cone, came out in the newspaper against saving Oswett Canyon in favor of private property rights, as he just described, and actually voted no on the multi-species habitat plan, which is our plan for the entire Coachella Valley to protect our native landscape and our species here. So I do think this is a key issue for voters. I think it's one of their top issues for residents in District 4, since we do have so many blighted golf courses or golf courses that might convert people and our residents live on our golf courses, and we don't have a lot of park space where we can go, and that's the open space that deserves and belongs to the people. I live near Mesquite as well, and I walk it as my opportunity to be outside and in nature, and so I think this is an incredibly important issue, and I'm very proud to be an environmental champion and a champion for open space.
All right, finally, what is the message that you would like voters to hear, and why should they choose you versus your opponents? Let's start with Mike this time.
Well, what I'd like to tell people is that I have no aspiration for higher office, and I'm not going to play on the national stage. I think we need to focus on local problems in a nonpartisan way. It's that simple and straightforward. I don't have any other agenda. I think I have the expertise to bring to the council to really go over the budget, look at it line by item, line item by line item, focus on keeping our revenue stream solid, but prioritizing our spending. We have an opportunity here with a new city manager and a lot of the furloughs and vacant positions at City Hall to rebuild City Hall from the ground up for the current situation, make it more efficient and more economical. And then we can throw out some of the bad things, the duplications, the areas where we're not being efficient, and we can build from the ground up and work and provide good services to the citizens within our budget.
Christy.
Thank you. I would be honored to serve another term on City Council. I think we've demonstrated a track record of progress and success. I'm here to focus on results. I work to make a living in Palm Springs, as well as my husband. We've lived here in this community. My husband's 3rd generation Palm Springs, and I'm having a baby who will be 4th generation Palm Springs in just a few weeks here. I think it's important to elect people who understand our community now, who represent Palm Springs values, and who can provide a positive vision for the future of Palm Springs. We're at a turning point right now. It's a difficult time with the pandemic and with the impact on our city, but we will get through it. We are resilient. We are an amazing city, and we have the best residents of anywhere in the world. So I would be honored to continue to provide a positive vision for the future. I plan to live here for 50 more years, and we need to plan for the city's future and provide that type of leadership. And that's what I'm here to do. And I would be honored to earn District 4 residents' vote in order to continue to do that.
Diane.
Thank you. I have to say that by not being a former city council member does not in any way, shape, or form negate the fact that I have the ability, the knowledge, and the life experience to do the work. I'm not a politician, but I am a resident of this community who is extremely passionate and loves this community. I as well feel the need to, in fact, preserve our open space. I've been coming to the desert since the 70s, and so much has changed. And I can appreciate the new looks and the new ideas, but yet Palm Springs has a natural beauty why people are coming back, retiring here, wanting to be here. Some of the young and fresh ideas are all well and good. However, a lot of us have been coming here for many, many years and would like to see the preservation. I think that by in fact having the redistricting opportunity and to increase the minority representation and bring a voice of the people, for the people, to the city council, and to stop the political machine that has been in existence here for so many years, to bring a fresh face with a new light and a breath of fresh air to ensure that the community will in fact know that they have a voice.
All right. Christy, Diane, and Mike, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.